Max was drowning, but the real surprise came after they pulled him from the water, a story no one saw coming. It was a quiet, peaceful morning on Lake Ontario. The thick fog hung low over the water, making everything look mysterious and still. The lake's surface was calm, barely moving, as if the world itself had paused. Emily Carter guided her boat across the still waters of Lake Ontario. Thick fog covered the lake, wrapping everything in a blanket of gray. The shoreline was nowhere to be seen, and the usual landmarks were hidden. The world felt small, isolated, and silent, as if nothing existed beyond the fog. The water below was smooth, barely rippling, and the air was cool with the faint smell of moisture. Beside her sat Anna Blake, a local veterinarian. Anna held a cup of coffee in her hands, staring out at the lake, lost in her own thoughts. Her face looked tired, her eyes heavy with sadness. Emily had seen that look before in others. It was the look of someone trying to hold it together while carrying a heavy burden. Anna had recently lost her mother to cancer, and Emily, a longtime friend, had invited her out for a fishing trip. It wasn't just about fishing, it was about giving Anna a chance to breathe. Emily had always believed the lake could heal in its own way. There was something about the water, the quiet, and the steady rhythm of waves that could calm even the most restless minds. "You okay?" Emily asked, glancing at Anna. Anna blinked and smiled faintly. "Yeah, I think so. It's nice out here, peaceful." Emily nodded. She didn't push for more. She knew Anna wasn't ready to open up fully, and that was okay. Sometimes, silence was its own kind of therapy. The boat drifted slowly through the fog, the engine humming softly. The world around them was so quiet that every little sound stood out, the faint ripple of water, the occasional creak of the boat, the rustle of their jackets. The fog seemed to muffle everything, making the lake feel distant and strange. Emily had spent years working on these waters as a search and rescue veteran. She'd seen her fair share of emergencies, but this morning felt different. It was the kind of quiet that made her feel on edge, like something was just out of sight, waiting. The fog pressed in closer, thick and unyielding. Even the sun seemed unable to break through, leaving the sky a dull, gray haze. The stillness wasn't relaxing, it was heavy. There was no wind, no birds calling, no distant sounds from the shoreline. It was just the two of them, alone on the water. Anna took a deep breath and set her coffee cup down. "You were right," she said softly. "It's different out here. It makes you feel small, but in a good way." Emily smiled, but before she could reply, a faint sound caught her attention. She froze for a moment, her ears straining to listen. It was faint, almost like a splash, but it was too far away to be sure. "Did you hear that?" Emily asked, her voice low. Anna looked at her, confused. "Hear what?" Emily didn't answer immediately. The sound came again, louder this time. It wasn't the gentle lap of water against the boat. It was sharper, more desperate, like something struggling in the water. Anna sat up straighter, her brow furrowed. "What is that?" Emily's instincts kicked in. Years of search and rescue experience had taught her to recognize when something wasn't right. This sound didn't belong. It wasn't normal. She scanned the water, but the fog was too thick to see anything. "I don't know," Emily said carefully, her tone serious now. The sound came again, and this time it was unmistakable, a loud splash followed by a faint, panicked cry. Anna's face paled as she turned toward Emily. "Is that an animal?" Anna asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Maybe," Emily replied, her grip tightening on the wheel. "But whatever it is, it's in trouble." The calm morning had shifted. The quiet stillness now felt heavy with tension. Emily's heart began to race as she turned the boat toward the direction of the sound. The fog made it hard to judge how far away it was, but the splashes and cries were growing louder, more desperate. Anna leaned forward, her eyes scanning the water, but the mist made it almost impossible to see. Her breathing quickened, and she whispered, "Emily, what if it's drowning? We have to do something." "We will," Emily said firmly, trying to stay calm. The boat moved slowly through the fog, the sound growing closer with each passing moment. Emily's mind raced. She thought of all the dangers, the freezing water, the limited visibility, and whatever it was they were heading toward. But she also thought of the lives she'd saved over the years and how every second mattered. Anna gripped the side of the boat, her knuckles white. The splashes were louder now, mixed with what sounded like faint cries or whimpers. "Emily," Anna's voice was barely above a whisper. "I see it," Emily said, her voice tight. Through the thick fog, a dark shape appeared, thrashing in the water. It was unmistakable now, a dog, struggling to stay afloat. Its head bobbed above the surface, and its legs kicked frantically, trying to keep from sinking. Anna gasped. "Oh my God, it's a German Shepherd." Emily's jaw tightened. "Hold on, Anna. This isn't going to be easy." The peaceful morning was gone, replaced by urgency and fear. The fog hung around them, the quiet broken by splashes and cries. The boat pushed forward, carrying them closer to the struggling dog, and the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Whatever happened next, Emily and Anna knew this was a moment that would change everything. The stillness of the morning was suddenly broken by a sound, faint and distant at first, almost blending into the quiet. Emily Carter stopped moving, her ears straining to listen. There it was again. A splash, sharp and out of place. She frowned and tightened her grip on the wheel. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice steady but serious. Anna Blake, sitting next to her, blinked and looked around. "Hear what?" Another splash echoed through the fog, this time louder and more frantic. It wasn't the sound of fish jumping or waves lapping against the boat. It was something different, something desperate. Anna leaned forward, her heart beginning to race as she searched the foggy waters. "There," Emily said, nodding toward the sound. Her voice had taken on a sharp edge, the tone of someone who knew danger when they heard it. "What is it?" Anna whispered, squinting into the thick mist. Emily didn't answer immediately, her eyes focused on the direction of the sound. Her instincts were on high alert. Over her years in search and rescue, she had learned to trust that gut feeling, the sense that something wasn't right. The splashing grew louder, mixed with faint, high-pitched cries. They weren't human, but they carried the same weight of fear. Anna's hand tightened around the edge of her seat as the boat moved closer. Suddenly, the fog shifted, thinning just enough to reveal the source of the sound. Both women froze. Ahead of them, a large German Shepherd was struggling in the water. Its head barely stayed above the surface as its legs kicked frantically, trying to stay afloat. The dog's dark fur was soaked, clinging to its body, and its eyes were wide with terror. "Oh my God," Anna gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Emily's jaw tightened as she took in the scene. The dog was far from shore, too far to have gotten there on its own. Its movements were panicked and uncoordinated, a clear sign that it was running out of energy. "It's drowning," Anna said, her voice trembling. "We have to help it." Emily didn't respond right away. She was already assessing the situation, her training taking over. The dog was big, probably close to 90 pounds, and its panic made it dangerous. A drowning animal could claw and thrash wildly, unintentionally injuring anyone who got too close. The cold waters of the lake in March added another layer of risk. Prolonged exposure could lead to hypothermia, not just for the dog, but for them as well if they made a mistake. "This isn't going to be easy," Emily said, her voice firm. Anna nodded, her fear giving way to determination. "Tell me what to do." Emily steered the boat closer, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. "First, we need to stay calm," she said. If the dog panics too much, it could capsize the boat or pull us in. The boat rocked gently as they approached the struggling animal. The German shepherd's cries were louder now, filled with desperation. Its eyes locked onto them, almost as if it knew they were there to help. Anna felt a lump in her throat as she looked into those pleading eyes. "Emily, it's exhausted," she said. "We don't have much time." "I know," Emily replied, her tone steady. "Grab the rescue rope. We're going to need it." Anna scrambled to the storage compartment and pulled out the rope. Her hands shook slightly as she prepared it, but she forced herself to focus. She had worked with animals for years as a veterinarian, but she had never faced anything like this. As the boat drew closer, Emily cut the engine, letting the momentum carry them the rest of the way. The splashes from the dog grew weaker, its head bobbing dangerously close to the surface. "Okay," Emily said, glancing at Anna. "You're going to throw the rope around its chest, right behind the front legs. Be careful, don't spook it more than it already is." Anna nodded, her jaw set in determination. She moved to the edge of the boat, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. The dog thrashed harder as the boat came closer, water churning around it in frantic waves. "Easy, boy," Anna murmured, her voice soothing. "We're here to help." She threw the rope, but it landed short, splashing into the water a few feet from the dog. The animal jerked back in fear, its eyes wild, and Anna's heart sank. "Try again," Emily said firmly, keeping her gaze on the dog. Anna quickly reeled the rope back in, her hands moving faster now. She threw it again, this time landing it perfectly. The rope slipped around the dog's chest, and she pulled it tight. "Got it," she said, relief flooding her voice. But the moment of success was short-lived. The touch of the rope seemed to trigger a final burst of panic in the dog. It thrashed wildly, its powerful legs churning the water. One massive paw struck the side of the boat, making it lurch dangerously. "Hold on!" Emily shouted, grabbing the edge of the boat to steady it. Anna gripped the rope with all her strength, her knuckles white. "I've got it," she yelled, her voice strained. The boat rocked again as the dog's struggles began to slow. Its movements were weaker now, more instinct than energy. The icy water had taken its toll, and it was clear the animal couldn't last much longer. Emily and Anna exchanged a look, their unspoken determination solidifying. They had to act fast. Whatever it took, they were going to save this dog. Emily kept her hands steady on the wheel as she steered the boat closer to the struggling German shepherd. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. The dog's splashes were getting weaker, its cries fading. They didn't have much time. "Anna, get the rescue line ready," Emily called, her voice sharp with urgency. Anna nodded quickly, grabbing the rope from the compartment. Her hands trembled as she worked to prepare it. The sight of the dog struggling, its head barely staying above water, made her heart pound. The animal was clearly exhausted, its movements slowing with every second. As they got closer, Emily slowed the boat, careful not to spook the dog further. She had seen panicked animals before and knew how dangerous they could be, even unintentionally. One wrong move, and the dog could flip the boat or hurt them in its desperation. "Easy, boy," Anna said softly, her voice steady despite her nerves. "We're here to help." The boat drifted closer, and for a moment, everything felt still. The dog turned its head toward them, its dark eyes locking onto theirs. Those eyes were filled with fear and exhaustion, but there was something else too, an understanding, a silent plea for help. Anna felt her throat tighten. "Emily, he knows we're trying to save him," she said, her voice almost a whisper. Emily didn't respond, her focus entirely on keeping the boat steady. The icy water lapped against the hull, and the fog seemed to close in around them, adding to the tension. "Throw the line," Emily instructed, her voice calm but firm. Anna tossed the rope, aiming for the dog's chest. It landed perfectly, wrapping around the animal just behind its front legs. She pulled it tight, her muscles straining as the dog thrashed weakly against the restraint. "Hold on!" Emily shouted as the dog's movements rocked the boat. The German Shepherd, in a final burst of panic, kicked its powerful legs, sending water splashing everywhere. One of its paws hit the side of the boat, causing it to lurch dangerously to one side. Cold water spilled over the edge, soaking Anna's knees. "Steady!" Emily yelled, shifting her weight to balance the boat. Anna gritted her teeth, holding onto the rope with all her strength. "I've got him," she cried, her arms burning from the effort. Together, the two women worked to pull the dog on board. Emily leaned down, grabbing the rope to help Anna. The boat tipped slightly under the weight of the waterlogged animal, but they didn't stop. With one final heave, the dog collapsed onto the deck, soaking wet and trembling. Water pooled around its massive body as it lay there, breathing heavily. For a moment, neither of them moved, their own breaths coming in ragged gasps. The dog's eyes met theirs again, this time softer, as if it understood what they had done. "We did it," Anna whispered, relief and exhaustion washing over her. Emily gave a small nod, her hands still trembling. "Yeah, but it's not over yet." The tension lingered as they both turned their attention to the shivering dog. The rescue was only the beginning. The German Shepherd lay collapsed on the deck, its chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. Water pooled around its soaked fur as it shivered uncontrollably. Its once frantic movements had stopped, replaced by complete exhaustion. Anna knelt beside the dog, her hands moving quickly but gently as she assessed its condition. "He's freezing," Anna said, her voice tense. "It's hypothermia. We need to get him warm, fast." Emily grabbed the emergency blanket from a storage compartment and handed it to Anna. She watched as Anna draped the blanket over the dog, her movements careful and precise. Anna's years of experience as a veterinarian were clear in the way she worked, checking the dog's pulse, massaging its cold limbs, and speaking softly to calm it. "Come on, big guy," Anna murmured, her voice soothing. "You're safe now. Just hang in there." Emily stood back, her arms crossed tightly as she watched. She couldn't stop thinking about what they had just witnessed. The way the dog had behaved in the water wasn't like anything she'd seen before. It had been scared, yes, but it hadn't fought them the way most panicked animals would. It had cooperated, almost as if it understood they were trying to save it. "It's incredible," Emily said quietly, breaking the silence. Anna looked up at her. "What is?" "The way he acted out there," Emily explained. "He didn't fight us, not really. Even when he was scared, it was like, he trusted us." Anna nodded slowly, glancing back at the dog. "Yeah, I felt that too. There's something about him. Something different." The dog's eyes opened slightly, and it looked up at them. Even in its weakened state, there was a sharpness, an awareness in its gaze that sent a chill down Emily's spine. It was almost as if the dog was thanking them. "You see that?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Anna met her eyes and nodded. "He knows. He knows we saved him." The two women fell silent for a moment, the only sound the soft lapping of water against the boat. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this dog was no ordinary animal. There was an intelligence in its eyes that felt almost human, a connection that went beyond words. "We're not just dealing with any dog," Anna said softly, her voice full of wonder. "There's something special about him." Emily nodded, the thought lingering in her mind. The rescue was over, but the mystery of the dog was only beginning. As Emily guided the boat closer to the marina, the tension of the rescue began to lift. The German Shepherd, now wrapped in a blanket, lay quietly on the deck. Though still weak, his breathing was steadier, and the trembling had lessened. Anna stayed by his side, gently stroking his head, murmuring soft reassurances. The morning fog had started to clear, revealing the familiar shapes of the marina. A few people were on the dock, going about their usual routines. But as the boat got closer, a figure appeared, running toward the edge of the dock. It was a woman, her face pale and anxious, her eyes scanning the boat. "Max," she cried, her voice breaking with emotion. Anna and Emily froze, glancing at each other. The dog, hearing the name, stirred. His ears twitched, and his head lifted slightly. He let out a soft whimper, his tail giving a weak wag under the blanket. The woman reached the edge of the dock, tears streaming down her face. "Max! Oh my God, it's you," she sobbed. Emily carefully brought the boat to a stop, and the woman didn't wait for permission, she stepped aboard, rushing to the dog's side. "Max," she whispered, kneeling down to cradle his head in her hands. The dog's eyes lit up as he weakly pressed his nose against her arm, his tail thumping slightly on the deck. It was clear that he knew her, and the bond between them was undeniable. Emily and Anna stepped back, giving the woman and the dog space. "You know him?" Anna asked softly. The woman nodded, her voice shaking with relief. "He's mine. His name is Max. He's a therapy dog. We work with children at the hospital." Anna's breath caught as she glanced back at Max, a therapy dog. The woman nodded again, tears still falling. "He's incredible. He helps kids with anxiety, trauma, even physical therapy. He knows when they're scared or hurting, and he helps them feel safe. He's saved so many kids, in his own way." As the woman spoke, she explained what had happened. The day before, Max had been working with a young boy who was struggling with severe anxiety. They had been at a park near the lake, and the boy had suddenly bolted toward the water in distress. Max, trained to follow and protect children, had gone after him. The boy was found later, safe and unharmed, but Max had disappeared. "He must have kept going, thinking the boy was still in danger," the woman said, her voice breaking. "He's always so focused on helping others. He doesn't stop until he knows they're safe." Emily and Anna listened in silence, their hearts heavy with the weight of the story. Max wasn't just a dog, he was a hero. Even at his own risk, he had done everything he could to help someone in need. Anna knelt beside Max, gently stroking his head. "You're amazing, Max," she said softly. The dog's tail wagged again, just a little, as if acknowledging her words. Emily looked at the woman. "He's lucky to have you. And you're lucky to have him." The woman smiled through her tears, nodding. "I know. He's one of a kind." The emotional reunion on the dock wasn't just about Max finding his owner. It was a moment that highlighted the extraordinary bond between humans and animals, a reminder of the selfless dedication of a dog who had spent his life helping others. Max wasn't just any dog. He was a true hero. The boat was now tied securely at the marina, but the emotional weight of the morning still lingered. Max, the heroic German shepherd, was back on solid ground. He stood tall despite his exhaustion, his damp fur glistening in the sunlight. He had been through so much, yet there was a quiet strength in his posture. It was as if he understood that his ordeal was over and that he was safe now. Emily and Anna stood nearby, watching Max closely. The sight of him with his owner, the woman who had cried out for him in desperation, was something they would never forget. Max had endured the cold, the fear, and the exhaustion, yet his loyalty and dedication never wavered. He had given everything to help someone else, even at the risk of his own life. A soft voiceover begins as the camera shifts to Max. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a reminder of the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Max's story is one of courage, trust, and selflessness, a story that shows how animals can teach us about compassion in ways we never imagined. Max stood on the dock, looking out over the lake where it had all happened. The camera lingers on his face, showing his intelligent eyes and the calm expression he wore. Even now, he seemed alert, as if guarding the lake that had nearly claimed him. His gaze was steady, thoughtful, and filled with a sense of knowing. The slow-motion shot of Max captures the moment perfectly, the hero standing tall, the lake glistening behind him, the sunlight breaking through the lingering fog. It's a powerful image, one that tells a story all on its own. Anna and Emily exchanged a glance, both feeling the same thing. This wasn't just an ordinary rescue. It was something far more profound. They had seen firsthand how much this dog had given, how much he had sacrificed, and how deeply he had connected with them during those tense moments on the lake. Emily spoke softly, her voice filled with admiration. Animals like Max remind us of what's truly important. They don't just live alongside us, they teach us. About loyalty. About courage. About love. Anna nodded, smiling as she looked at Max, and about never giving up, no matter how hard things get. The voiceover continues as Max's owner kneels beside him, wrapping her arms around him once more. Max leans into her, his tail wagging gently. It's a moment that speaks volumes about the bond they share. Max isn't just a therapy dog, he's a hero. A living example of how far an animal's love and dedication can go. His story is a reminder that even in the toughest moments, compassion and courage can make all the difference. The final shot focuses on Max once more as he looks over the lake, his tail swaying softly. The camera zooms out slowly, revealing the vastness of the water and the bright, clear sky above. It's a peaceful ending, one that leaves viewers with a sense of hope and wonder. The voiceover closes with a call to action. If Max's story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe. Join us for more incredible stories of courage, compassion, and the extraordinary bonds we share with the animals in our lives. As the screen fades to black, the sound of gentle waves lapping against the dock echoes softly. The story ends, but the memory of Max's courage and the lives he touched will stay with viewers long after the video is over.